The 1970s were a wild time. Big hair, bold fashion, and even bolder cars. This was the era when American automakers went all out, crafting some of the most stunning full-size and intermediate vehicles ever to hit the streets. Before federal impact standards reshaped car designs in the mid-70s, Detroit was churning out rolling works of art, long, low, and packed with personality. In this list of the top 10 best-looking cars of the 1970s, we're shining the spotlight on the best designs from General Motors, Ford, Chrysler, and AMC. No sports cars here, just the biggest, boldest, and most stylish full-size cruisers of the decade. From aggressive front grills to sleek fastback rooflines, these cars defined an era of excess. So buckle up as we count down the best-looking land yachts of the 70s. Don't forget to like, share, and drop a comment on Classic Cars Archive. Coming in at number 10 on our list of the top 10 best-looking cars of the 1970s is the 1971 to 1972 Ford LTD. This wasn't just another full-size Ford. It was a bold, stylish statement, thanks in part to a man named Bunky Knudsen. Knudsen, who had made a name for himself running Pontiac, took the reins at Ford and wanted his cars to have that same aggressive, standout look. The result? A long, muscular sedan with a sharp, pointed nose, eerily reminiscent of the 1969 Pontiac Grand Prix. Compared to the 1970 LTD, the 71 and 72 models had a more pronounced beak-like front end, hidden headlights, and a sleek yet imposing presence. Whether you picked the two-door coupe, the four-door hardtop, or the classic sedan, every version had an unmistakably powerful stance. Inside, Ford didn't skimp on comfort. Plush seating, high-end materials, and a smooth ride made the LTD feel every bit like a premium cruiser. And under the hood, you had your pick of some serious powerhouses: the reliable 351 Cleveland, the torque-rich 400, or the mighty 429 big block V8. These engines delivered the kind of smooth, effortless performance that made highway cruising a dream. It wasn't just about looks. These cars were built tough, with solid engineering and bulletproof transmissions. Next up on our top 10 best-looking cars of the 1970s list is the 1970 to 72 Lincoln Continental, a machine that exudes both luxury and authority. This era marked Lincoln's return to body-on-frame construction after nearly a decade of using a unibody design. The result? A massive, low-slung, commanding vehicle that looks like it just rolled out of a mafia film. One of its standout features is the coffin nose hood, an aggressive design reminiscent of the legendary Cord 810, paired with a Rolls-Royce-inspired grille carried over from the Mark III. If you see one in solid black, without a vinyl top, it gives off an almost sinister presence, like something a mob boss would drive. The interior is just as striking. The racetrack dashboard layout, unique rolling drum speedometer, and full-gauge cluster give it a sophisticated yet functional look. While the material quality wasn't quite as premium as previous Continentals or the Mark III, it still surpassed Cadillac's interiors of the time. But what really sets this car apart is the driving experience. Smooth beyond belief. Under the hood, a 460 cubic inch V8 powers this luxury land yacht with near-silent operation. The 1970 to 71 models require premium fuel, but by 1972, Lincoln tuned it to run on regular gasoline, slightly lowering horsepower but maintaining its ultra-smooth performance. Driving one feels like gliding on air. Bumps simply disappear, and road noise is virtually non-existent. talk about one of the best-looking cars of the 1970s, the 1976 to 1977 Pontiac Grand Prix. Redesigned in 1973, this car took a major leap in style from its earlier single-headlight predecessors. While the 1973 to 1975 models were far from ugly, they lacked the striking flair of the 1976 to 77 versions. The 1976 Grand Prix, with its sleek, vertically oriented grille and Pontiac's signature arrowhead nose, looked aggressive and sophisticated. The rear also had a sharp taper with subtly defined shoulders on the deck lid, creating a pseudo-boat-tail design that gave the car a unique, aerodynamic look. These cars weren't just beautiful, though. They were reliable, comfortable, and packed with power. The 1976 model marked the last year F, or the iconic Pontiac 455 cubic inch V8, a powerhouse engine that made the Grand Prix a force on the road. By 1977, the 455 was discontinued, but you could still find a 400 cubic inch V8, and even the Pontiac 301 V8, which wasn't as potent but still provided solid performance. It's clear that Pontiac prioritized a mix of style and power. Inside, the Grand Prix featured luxurious interior themes. The bucket seats paired with a center console were a standout, offering comfort and style that the bench seats just couldn't match. If you got the 1973 Grand Am, you'd find a similar dashboard with real wood trim. Unfortunately, by the 1976 to 77 models, the wood trim became faux, but the overall design remained stunning with a wraparound dashboard and handsome seats. Next, we will mention the 1971 to 72 Mercury Marquis Coupe. If you've been following this channel for a while, you know I'm a big fan of Mercury from about 1967 to 1974. Those years just nailed the style, and the 71 and 72 Marquis are, in my opinion, the peak of the lineup. I can't deny the 1969 and 70 models are good-looking, but for this list, we're focusing on the 70s. The 1970 Marquis is sharp, but the 71 especially is a standout with its clean, linear grille that seamlessly blends into the headlamps. The 72 is cool too, but the egg crate grille doesn't quite match the sleekness of the 1971 design. Now, let's talk about power. The Marquis wasn't just about good looks, it also packed some serious muscle. In 1971, you had a 429 cubic inch two-barrel V8 under the hood, with an optional four-barrel 429, true muscle car territory. By 1972, the standard engine was the 429 four-barrel V8, but Ford wasn't done. They dropped a 460 cubic inch V8 as an option mid-year, a Lincoln exclusive engine up until then. But it's not just the performance. The design is what makes this car truly stand out. The long, luxurious hood with that Lincoln-esque coffin nose gives it a sophisticated, bold presence. And the back end, wow. The deck lid and quarter panels are so long, it almost looks like it could land a helicopter. The rear quarter glass has a kick-up that gives it a pinched roofline, adding to the overall sleek profile. It's not just long, it's balanced and elegant. Inside, it's all about comfort. The ride is smooth, and while the roofline is low, it feels tight and sporty on the road, with a quality Ford built into every inch. The 71 to 72 Marquis Coupe is a gorgeous example of 70s automotive design, and it's definitely one of the best-looking cars of the decade. When it comes to the best-looking cars of the 1970s, The 1972 Imperial is an absolute standout. This wasn't just another luxury car. It was a rolling statement of power and prestige. Available as a coupe or a four-door hardtop, the 72 Imperial took Chrysler's fuselage styling and made it even more striking. The fuselage look had been around since 1969, but the refresh for 72 gave it an even more imposing presence. The front end is especially unique. It almost looks like the rear, thanks to those massive parking lamps, which are a nod to the classic woodlight-style lamps of the 1930s. Out back, the vertical taillights carry a Cadillac-like elegance, but with Chrysler's own signature twist. The Coupe, in particular, is a masterpiece. It's long, sleek, and looks like it's gliding even when parked. The body sides are incredibly clean, free of excessive trim, letting the fuselage shape shine. It's the kind of car that commands attention without even trying. Inside, the Imperial took luxury seriously. While Chrysler interiors of the time weren't known for being plush, the Imperial was a different story. The seats were button-tufted leather, reminiscent of a high-end lounge chair. The doors were thickly padded, featuring built-in storage and grab straps for an extra touch of class. In the back, passengers got headrest pillows and reading lamps, pure luxury for the early 70s. Under the hood, Chrysler's legendary 440 cubic inch V8 provided effortless power. Even detuned to 225 horsepower due to emissions regulations, it still had massive torque, making highway cruising smooth and effortless. And thanks to its unique front suspension and isolated cradle, the Imperial rode like a dream, whisper quiet and unbelievably smooth. One of the coolest details? The hidden headlamps. Unlike some competitors, Chrysler made sure the headlamp doors aligned perfectly with the grille, making them almost invisible when closed. By 1973, the Imperial became the longest non-limousine passenger car in America. But that year's model lost some of the 72's clean design, thanks to bulkier bumper guards. That's why the 1972 Imperial stands out. It was Chrysler at its absolute best. The 1971-72 Cadillac Eldorado had a tough act to follow. Its predecessor, the 1967-70 Eldorado, was a design icon, sharp, aggressive, and exuding pure road presence. Bill Mitchell, GM's styling chief, described its look as having a crease in the pants, meaning clean, bold lines that screamed confidence. The 67 Eldorado is still regarded as one of the best-looking cars ever made, and for good reason. But for 1971, GM moved the Eldorado to a full-size platform, forcing it to share A-pillars and a windshield with other big GM cars. Despite this, the 71-72 Eldorado still came out looking fantastic, especially in a deep color like Empire Maroon. It featured a massive single-piece hood, replacing the split design of earlier models, an ultra-wide stance, and sculpted body lines that made it one of the most imposing cars on the road. The four-fender design was accentuated by chrome trim, and the beveled deck lid gave it an unmistakable high-end look. However, a last-minute decision to add an opera window took away from its sleek hardtop styling. Under the hood, the 500 cubic inch, 8.2 liters V8, the largest displacement engine ever fitted to a production car, pushed out 365 horsepower and 535 pound-feet of torque in 1971. Even after detuning for 1972, it still made 235 net horsepower and 385 pound-feet of torque, SAE net ratings. Power was sent to the front wheels via a TH425 3-speed automatic transmission, making the Eldorado one of the most powerful front-wheel drive cars of its time. The 1972 Dodge Monaco is one of the last great expressions of Chrysler's fuselage-era styling before the government-mandated bumpers started to clutter designs in 1973. While the 73 Monaco had to contend with massive bumper guards, the 72 model remained clean, sleek, and well-proportioned, making it one of the best-looking full-size cars of its time. One of Monaco's signature styling elements is its hidden headlamps, which give the front end a smooth, aggressive presence, almost a muscle car look wrapped in a full-size luxury body. Out back, the full-width taillight gives the car an elegant Thunderbird-inspired touch, emphasizing its road-hugging stance. Sadly, by 1973, this design cue was dropped. Another highlight is the skeg line running along the side. It starts at the front wheel arch and sweeps upward toward the rear, adding visual tension and breaking up what could have been a slab-sided look. Under the hood, the 72 Monaco packed serious Mopar power. The base engine was the 360 cubic inch 5.9-liter V8, but buyers looking for more muscle could upgrade to the 400 cubic inch 6.6-liter or the legendary 440 cubic inch 7.2 liters Magnum 5.8, which cranked out 275 net horsepower and 375 pound-feet of torque. Power was sent to the rear wheels through a TorqueFlite 727 3-speed automatic transmission, ensuring smooth yet authoritative acceleration for such a large cruiser. Inside, Dodge's fit and finish weren't class-leading, but they weren't bad either, just not quite as plush as a Chrysler or Imperial. However, the 1972 Monaco remains one of the best-looking full-size Mopars of the early 70s, whether as a 4-door hardtop or a 2-door coupe. The 1972 Lincoln Mark IV isn't just one of the best-looking cars of the 1970s. It's a true statement of luxury and presence. This was the first year for the Mark IV, succeeding the wildly successful Mark III, 1969 to 1971, which was essentially a Thunderbird with a Rolls-Royce grille. Lee Iacocca's gamble paid off, so Lincoln refined the concept, delivering an even sleeker, more dramatic design. Under the hood, the Mark IV packed serious power. It came standard with the massive 460 cubic inch 7.5-liter V8, producing 212 horsepower and 342 pound-feet of torque. While emissions regulations had begun to strangle performance in the early 70s, the Mark IV still had plenty of low-end grunt. Power was sent to the rear wheels through a C6 3-speed automatic transmission, making for an effortless highway cruiser. With a curb weight of over 5,200 pounds, it was not lightweight, but that only added to its smooth, road-hugging ride. Styling-wise, the Mark IV took Lincoln's design language to new heights. The fender profile is a key departure from typical Ford styling. It appears to rise slightly, but that's just an optical illusion. The body features sculpted wheel arches, a bold character line down the side, and an aggressive tuck-in underneath, giving it a muscular stance. The rear end is another masterpiece, with a tapered trunk design rather than a flat rear, making it look sleek and elongated. The trade-off? Cargo space. The full-size spare in the trunk eats up most of the room, but who buys a Mark IV for practicality? Now, the interior. well, that's where it loses points. Compared to the Mark III, the materials and fit and finish aren't quite as premium. The dash is massive. The greenhouse window area is small, and the whole setup feels a bit claustrophobic. But once you're behind the wheel, you'll appreciate the ultra-soft ride. Maybe too soft. These cars float like a waterbed, and if you take one on winding roads, you might find yourself getting motion sickness. I learned this the hard way on a trip through the Appalachians. Should have picked something with a firmer suspension. Let's talk about one of my all-time favorite Mopars, the 1972 Plymouth Gran Fury Coupe. This car is a true standout from the fuselage era, and it's an absolute stunner. The proportions are perfect, just the right amount of muscle. The hidden headlamps give it a sleek, mysterious look, while that big loop bumper at the front adds a bold, aggressive stance. But it's those rear quarters that really make this car special. They bulge out at the bottom, creating a dynamic, almost sculptural shape that's beautifully highlighted by the surfacing. The whole design flows, making it look fast even when it's standing still. Under the hood, the 1972 Gran Fury was offered with a variety of engine options, including the mighty 400 cubic inch V8. This engine churned out 245 horsepower and 355 pound-feet of torque, delivering plenty of power to back up that muscle car look. The car came standard with a 3-speed automatic transmission, but it had that Mopar magic, providing smooth cruising and a strong, throaty rumble from the exhaust. Now, the interior, well, let's be honest, it's not exactly a showstopper. The materials and fit and finish just weren't up to par with some of its competitors. It's not a disaster, but compared to the luxurious exteriors, the cabin feels a little underwhelming. The Chrysler cars of the era, including this one, often had interiors that didn't quite match their exterior swagger, and the Gran Fury was no exception. But hey, it's not a deal breaker when you're driving a car that looks as cool as this. The 1972 Plymouth Gran Fury Coupe is one of the best-looking cars of the 1970s because it embodies that classic Mopar design language with its bold lines and muscular stance. If you're into the fuselage era, this car's got all the right moves, style, power, and presence. Let's wrap this up with one of the best-selling cars of the 1970s, the 1976 to 1977 Oldsmobile Cutlass Coupe. These years marked a major styling refresh for the Cutlass, and let me tell you, they hit it out of the park. The waterfall-style grille that draped over the front end of the car is one of those design elements that just works. It's sleek, it's classy, and it's unique. Interestingly, this grille wasn't even part of the original plan. According to insiders like designer Dennis Burke, it all started as a happy accident. When the engineers were working on a clay model, they accidentally draped paper over the front to simulate the grille, and a GM stylist loved it so much that it made its way into production. Talk about a happy mistake. Under the hood, the 1976 to 1977 Cutlass came with a variety of options, including the smooth 350 cubic inch Oldsmobile Vive 8, which churned out about 170 horsepower and 250 pound-feet of torque. Paired with the smooth turbo hydromatic transmission, this car is all about effortless cruising. The suspension was finely tuned for that perfect balance. Not too soft, but with enough give to provide a comfortable, quiet ride. And when it comes to handling, it's certainly above average for the time. This car drives smoothly and feels solid on the road. Inside, The Brougham trims offered luxurious seats with loose cushions that were perfect for long drives. The dashboards weren't groundbreaking, but they weren't a deal breaker either. The real selling points were the comfort and smooth driving experience that made this car an absolute pleasure to own. So why does the 1976 to 1977 Oldsmobile Cutlass top this list? It's not just the looks, though it certainly has one of the most elegant designs of the 70s. It's the great mechanics, comfortable ride, and smooth powertrain that made it a favorite in American driveways. And that wraps up our list of the top 10 best-looking cars of the 1970s. Did we miss any vehicles that you think should have made the cut? Drop a comment below and let us know which classic rides from General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler you think stand out the most in terms of style and design. The 1970s were full of some truly iconic cars, and it's always fun to revisit these beauties. I hope you enjoyed this series and got a little nostalgia kick while watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Classic Cars Archive channel for more content on the best cars in history. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.